it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.
Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeah The Dees, where I'm going through our round 18 incredible win against the Brisbane Lions at the MCG on the 14th of July 2023. Wowee, what an absolute roller coaster of a game this was. At stages, we just looked like the dominant premiership side that we want to be, and at stages, we just got absolutely blown away. But what I am most disappointed with is that so much of the conversation around this win is more about Grundy not playing at AFL level, and I think that's really disrespectful to the effort that was put out there by the boys in the red and blue, and also Maxi Gawn having his best game in a few years with Brody out of the side and just going back to being his dominant ruck role, which we hadn't seen this year. Well, at least we saw it in round one when he was completely fit against the Bulldogs. He was definitely best on ground in round one. And this was the first time he was best on ground since then. So Max has to play that role. You can't not put him there. But let's go over the team selection and Brodie Grundy. So it was only the one change from last week with Jacob Van Rooyen coming in for Brodie Grundy. So we know that Simon Goodwin is pretty one for one when he wants to do changes to the side. He has players that play roles, and when one player goes out, another one comes in. So Jacob Van Rooyen came back in as that second ruck role to ruck, 15%, maybe 20% of the ruck contests and do some inside the forward 50. That's the role that Brodie Grundy is going to be training for now. He's going to be training to play forward. Jacob's had a really good year. I really like the way that he's gone, but other than the Richmond game where he kicked 3 goals in, he hasn't really had a performance quite like that where he's dominated a full game or dominated a quarter. He is playing against, some of the best defenders and very, very talented men that are a lot bigger and a lot stronger than him, and he's finding his way. But in a year where we're trying to challenge for the premiership, experience is key, and I'm not sure if Jacob Van Rooyen is in that role by the time we get to finals. I think Simon Goodwin wants to put the trust in Brodie Grundy to play that role, to play forward, to be able to lead and take marks and make a contest, follow up at ground level, and then chop out for Max in the ruck contests there. Just have him up our sleeve for the odd case where Max just gets beaten in the ruck. It happens sometimes. Last year, Tom Hickey got on top of him and we didn't really have another trigger to pull because Luke Jackson was in really, really poor form at that stage. So I think that's sort of where it's at. I think a lot of the media hysteria around it is really, really nuts. Suggesting that Melbourne would pay some of his salary to go somewhere else is really, really crazy. Unless you've spoken to Grundy yourself, you don't really know how he's feeling or what ruck role he's in. I don't think it's that big of a deal. There's so many people saying, he doesn't know the nuances of playing forward and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's still body work. Like, in the ruck, you do so much body work and moving and trying to outbody your opponents that I don't think it's that far of a stretch. We see defenders get thrown into forward lines. We see forwards get thrown into defending. It just comes down to the player and how they contest when it's their turn to go. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think Grundy's been okay forward. He's still kicked like 13 goals so far this year. He's a solid player, All-Australian player, should be in our best 22. Yes, that's definitely there, but he's not doing a few things at AFL level, which Simon Goodwin wants him to specifically work on, and that will help launch us into finals and also give us a bit of a different look. So let's just see how it plays out. But I've been pretty disgusted with some of the chats in the media from it, and just the way that they're sort of going about it. But anyway, let's get into the game. So a huge game here, Friday night. We kick it off and we have a really cool mix at the first bounce. It's Gawn, Brayshaw, Viney and Cozzy. I was really, really happy to see Cozzy in the middle. Wanted to see him get a bit more ball this game because he's just been a bit off it the last few weeks. I finally took him out of my super coach side because I was like, I bet you the week I take him out, he actually performs well. And he kicks 3 goals this game. Of course he does. I was worried going into this game because I didn't know exactly how it would be umpired because we have, once again, the worst umpire in the comp umpiring this game 2 weeks in a row. And, geez, that was on display early because the first free kick, I could not tell for the life of me what that was for. Because he got a clearance and there was just some free kick to Brisbane for whatever reason. But their drive forward is undone by Judd McVeigh, who wins a one-on-one contest with Charlie Cameron. And Judd McVeigh's read on the play is absolutely incredible. He is very, very capable of keeping Michael Hibberd out of this side with the way that he is going. I did see on Twitter recently, this guy, Andrew Whelan, he has some great stuff on Twitter. If you have Twitter, do go follow him. So he pointed out that Judd McVeigh has only lost 2 one-on-one contests out of 17 so far this year, which is pretty crazy. And Jake Bowie's doing the same thing as well. Max Gawn's lost 3 out of 22. So in terms of percentage, Max Gawn's playing as well as James Sicily, who's definitely in all-Australian form. Go give him a follow on Twitter. He does some good stuff. For our first drive for this first goal here, Tajway Woden took a really, really nice strong mark. Got it down to Angus Brayshaw, who was able to pass it off to Langdon, who kicked inside 50. And Alex Neil-Bullen just got wrapped up by the Brisbane defender in this and gave away a very, very easy holding the man free kick. We break out of the centre clearance after kicking that goal, and then Melksham kicks an easy one out on the full, and I was cursing him then, and I was cursing him later in this quarter as well. But the ball comes back inside 50 via Ed Langdon, and Christian Petrarca is able to crumb and snap this beautiful goal. He gives it to a few Brisbane players. There's definitely no love lost here between these two sides. But what I absolutely love is the Melbourne players of getting around him, making sure that Zach Bailey can't run up and give him a bit of a bump. Then Joe Danaher gets a real easy one out the back. It almost looked like Harrison Petty was asleep for a second, but he just boots that one out on the full. So that kind of evens up the one that Melksham kicked out on the full before. Some things that I saw that was really nice throughout this quarter was Ben Brown leading his player up out of the forward 50 and creating some more space. And then Christian Petrarca is able to get our third goal on the board. And this is an absolutely ripper from 50. He turns and just smashes it from that 50-metre arc. He loves that spot on the left-hand side. He kicked a goal there at Optus Stadium in the grand final, so it's definitely a favoured spot for him to kick to, and he can make that shot. Gawn smashed the next centre clearance leading up into this goal, where Harris Andrews was able to try and get the ball and try and sort of lead out of our defensive 50, where Spargo initiated the first tackle but couldn't quite get it, and then Ben Brown got the second where he dropped the ball and got the free kick and put us up 4 goals in front before they have even scored. Well, we actually kicked a point here with Christian Petrarca to go 4-1 before they score. There was another really poor turnover from Jake Melksham going inside 50 here. And shortly after that, he takes another mark inside 50 and has another shot on goal, but that one goes to the pocket. And by that stage, he'd kicked one out on the full, missed one to the pocket, and had a really, really bad turnover kick going inside 50. With those 3 mistakes, I just wanted to put him in the bin. Would have been very, very happy not to see Jake Melksham in a Melbourne jumper again after those 3 poor skill execution kicks. But yeah, we started brilliantly, really dominated that first sort of 7-8 minutes of the game, and then Brisbane took some control and quite slowly sort of really just displayed some exquisite kicking skills. Some really nice running, adding Jasper Fletcher and Ashcroft into this lineup has really, really helped them with some leg speed and taking out Daniel Rich. We had some really ordinary skill execution sort of here in this part, which led to Brisbane getting back the lead by the end of the second quarter, really undoing all of our good work at the start of that first. Zach Bailey kicked the first goal for Brisbane there. It was a bit whatever. And then Jake Melksham gave away a free kick for a block, and that was given by that umpire that I absolutely hate because he gives all the finicky ones. And I don't think there was anything in it. You're pretty sure you're allowed to bump the player and go for a mark. And then Harris Andrews had it and then kicked it back, and Trent Rivers had a really great intercept mark, who then kicked it back, and then Melksham just gives away the exact same free kick again. So either the umpire's wrong or Melksham's doing the wrong thing, but like, don't do that again, bro. Like, you just lost a free kick before it. So Harris Andrews gets it again and kicks it up the wing straight to Trent Rivers. After that, Van Rooyen hits up Jakey Melksham for another attempt on goal. That's his third attempt this quarter. And that one hit the goal post right there. That's where he got that behind. He very easily, could add 3 goals at that stage, but unfortunately he's just got the 1 point. Our next goal was through Charlie Spargo. There was a very nice assist from Ben Brown after a great mark at his highest point. He seems to be leaping pretty well at the ball this game, and that was something that I was looking for from seeing from him. For that kick, like Jake Melksham actually hit up Ben Brown with that kick, and it was absolutely sublime after Viney did some great work at the boundary throw-in. Brisbane had a shot in front of goal. This Hugh McCluggage one, and it just the other way. It was like the ball was possessed. Could not believe that he missed it from that close. That's just crazy. Brisbane had some nice transition sort of through the middle of the ground. That's when I started to get a little bit worried, because I was like, oh, they're chopping us up a little bit through here. And Charlie Cameron was able to get a nice mark on the lead and kick a goal for them. And then, in between that, Ben Brown almost takes another long stretch mark, but doesn't. And then Brisbane try to exit the contest, but Cozzy says no, and it's holding the ball. So Cozzy Pickett goals and gets our 6th for the quarter. What I was really disappointed with was this Joe Danaher goal, as he marked right before the siren and goaled afterwards. We'd done a lot of hard work to get 26 points up, and for Brisbane to get one right on the bell there, and also give away that Charlie Cameron one. So there was 2 goals in the last 3 minutes of that quarter where we had dominated to go in and lead by 17 points, where it really should have been 29. It was a bit disappointing going into that. So then Brisbane, go into quarter time with a bit of energy, because they've kept within touch of us that quarter. We kicked 6-2-38 to Brisbane's 3-3-21 and lead by 17 points. So Charlie Spargo had the first shot on goal in the second quarter and missed. He's definitely a bit of a whipping boy at the moment. There's a lot of fans not happy with the way that he's playing and his effort. He ran a lot. He put a lot of pressure on, but had a few, small issues throughout the game. I'm not sure who's the best option at the moment for that small forward role. Is it him or Chandler? Because Chandler was very much missing the last couple of weeks. So that role sort of seems pretty much up for grabs at the moment, and probably one of the only positions in contention at the moment. But we're able to kick the first goal through Jake Bowie here, where Ashcroft just ran underneath the ball for this one. He just completely misjudged it, ran under the ball, dropped the mark, and Bowie picks it up and kicks a goal. Pretty much exactly how he did against GWS. It was the same sort of game where we had set up that defensive arc around the ball, and Jake Bowie makes the most of his opportunities, and he's just a smooth mover. Great kick. Has some beautiful feet on him, and that was a really, really good goal. And then Brisbane just get on top, and we have this four-goal avalanche in a row. I started to worry once Will Ashcroft kicked this goal, because what we saw was a double or even a triple switch to open up the ground for them to cut through and move up. So a lot of the time, with the way that we set up our defence, teams will have to come down a wing, which is playing into our hands, or they will need to have to switch to try and open up the play. So they move the ball to the other side to go down the other side of the boundary, which makes us run across and we try to keep our structure and form moving across that way. They switch back, and we saw it and double back, but we double back too quickly. So we would then run out of position a little bit, and then Brisbane were able to flip that switch back with one kick and then go up and through the middle, because they had created space between their players and ours. And that worked for this Ashcroft goal. They tried it a couple of times to get through, and they were able to chop us up through the middle. It absolutely blew my mind when Neil Bullen gave away a push-out free kick, and then 30 seconds later it happens to Jacob Van Rooyen, and we don't get anything. There was insufficient intent call against Christian Salem, where he just walked out of bounds. You need to be better than that. You can't just grab the ball and just walk out of bounds. It is insufficient intent. So I think that was fair enough free kick there. You've got to make effort to play the ball. And that was a mistake that Christian Salem had made there. There was another poor inside 50 from Jake Melksham in this quarter, where he didn't get it over the top to Christian Petrarch. And for the vast majority of this quarter, and whilst these 2 goals got kicked, Harrison Petty was off the ground with some sore ribs. He finally gets back on, but Fletcher is able to kick Brisbane's 3rd in a row and brings it to 5 points. And I think Harrison Petty, with his ribs, was, maybe not a good choice going into this game if he was still sore. He had a few knocks here and there and was just not able to play or run at his fullest. Stephen May also getting very convincingly beaten in the contests here by Joe Danaher. Joe Danaher had a really, really good game. Stephen May trying his guts out, but just getting beaten and getting pulled up the ground a lot. Jake Lever had a really good game as well, but in this instance here, he got beaten in a one-on-one contest with Jack Gunston. And they're one-on-ones that he generally wins, and he wins a one-on-one right at the end of the game, which pretty happy about. But Jack Gunston is able to kick the goal there, and that's what puts the Lions in front by a point. So that undoes all of our good hard work earlier, and we've got to try and come back in and win this game again, because we had it won pretty much in that first quarter, but then just couldn't contribute onto the scoreboard that much in that second quarter and let Brisbane get away with it. We did get that one back shortly after through Christian Petrarca, where James Jordan had a really, really great handball out to Alex Neil-Bullen, who's able to hit up Petrarca on the lead, and Petrarca's third goal lets us breathe out a sigh of relief for a second, because that was our first goal since this Bowie one 2 minutes into the quarter, after watching the Lions really sort of dominate the play for that stage, only for Lincoln McCartney to just peg that back to being a 1 point margin. So we kicked 2 goals, 1-13 to Brisbane's 5-1-31 for Brisbane to go up by a point. They kicked really, really straight that quarter. Yeah, look, Petty being out on the bench for 10-15 minutes of that quarter didn't help. And what needed to help us at that stage was we pulled the Petrarca trigger and started putting him into the midfield to help us out. Lincoln McCartney kicks his second goal and second in a row early into this third quarter with a really, really easy mark inside 50. And that's where I was just like, fuck. Like, if they're taking marks that easy, it's going to be an easy win. If this was a normal sort of win, if we just won by 20 points or something, this would probably be my favourite moment of the game. But that last 3 minutes and those last 7 minutes, those last 3 goals, that definitely tops stuff. But what a slick shot from running down the boundary from Tajway Woden. Like these, I'm talking about skills and skill execution. This guy's got skills. He is slick with his kicking. It's really picks the spirits up, Taj, kicking this goal. We really needed it. All the players got around him and I absolutely loved it. Happy days for this one. Would have been nice if he had kicked a goal last week when Shane was down watching him, but he'd just have to deal with watching his kid's first goal on TV. But it was really, really good goal. Really helpful. Unfortunately, Jack Gunston scores again soon after that. There was a moment where Stephen May was probably lucky to not get pinned holding the ball inside the Lions forward 50. But yeah, the Brisbane get back on top after a little wrestle in play sort of throughout this, but they're just dominating the time in front half. They have the next 7 shots on goal in this 10-minute period or so. To go 4 goals, 3, they really could have put the game away in this period, and we just looked completely off it. We just looked nowhere near it, and it's 28 points at this stage. And around this stage, this is where Jack Gunston had tackled Harrison Petty, and they landed on their sides, and he was definitely very, very sore. At some point in this quarter, Harrison Petty takes a mark and kicks it, and that's his first disposal since the first quarter. When you're an intercept defender trying to lock someone down and help with ball movement, so. Yeah, look, that definitely affected us through there. Cozzy was able to kick his second here. He made something absolutely out of nothing. And after this goal, that's when Harrison Petty finally comes off and gets subbed somewhere in between these few minutes. We start the fourth quarter with Joel Smith on instead. But yeah, here we just go back and forth with goals. After taking this absolute assault for 40 minutes, we get one back here, they peg one back through Eric Hipwood. We get one back again through Max Gawn, and then Charlie Cameron returns a goal. But lucky for us, we get that one back just there through Christian Petrarca, where he kicks his 4th goal just before 3-quarter time. So we kicked 4-1-25 to Brisbane 7-3-45, losing that quarter by 20 points, and we're 21 points down after the lead got out to 28 points in that quarter. As mentioned before, Petty gets subbed off for Joel Smith. Max Gawn almost gave us the perfect start, but unfortunately kicked us a point here with that 30 seconds. And then Joe Danaher milks an awful free kick and kicks a goal. I just can't believe that they gave this to him after there being other pushes throughout the game that just weren't paid. Also in disbelief that this is the last goal that Brisbane kick, and they don't really look like kicking a goal much throughout the last quarter at all. They just really shut up shop and started playing a defensive game. This is a 58-point swing here. like throughout these 2 quarters. It's absolutely ridiculous play to have practically a 10-goal turnaround. It's just mental. But from the 20-minute mark of this third quarter, things started to click a little bit more for us, and we started to get a bit more of the ball. Now, it didn't really come together until this second half of this quarter, and maybe that's our fitness doing something. Maybe we're a bit fitter than Brisbane. Maybe Brisbane, with all their running throughout these 2 quarters, tired a little bit, but they definitely went into saving the game mode, which was probably a little bit too early. We get a couple of cracks through here. This point here, Christian Petrarca finally gets a free kick for being held at the contest. He's getting held at the contests all the time. But with this one here, he starts throwing his arms up and the crowd erupts for it and it gets paid. This is why it's so important to be loud at the footy, because you help push the umpire into paying free kicks because of the noise of affirmation. Fortunately, he kicks the point there. In between that and Angus's point here, wanted to shout out to Joel Smith for taking a really great intercept mark and almost getting a 50-metre penalty. Angus gets a crack here and kicks a point. You can just sort of see that, it's starting to move, the momentum's starting to change. Another 5 minutes of real wrestle contest back and forth. And then Brown almost takes another tall grab. James Jordan sprays a shot out on the full. But then this Cozzy goal here, wowee. The Melksham mark on the wing for this was absolutely incredible. It was just mental. Like, for him to go up against 2 players and to pull that down was nuts. And Cozzy was like running up towards the back of that contest as well. He just bolts forward, absolutely runs forward. Melksham sort of kicks it up to him. Cozzy's on a 2-on-1 and he's the only one to keep his feet. He slaps the ball onto the ground to stop it in its momentum and then shirks around the Brisbane players and runs in for an absolute beautiful goal. We exchange rush behinds. This is just the teams just trying to get a point over the line. So you can get possession again and run out. And then there's Jake Melksham goal here. Some real nice forward craft here because the forwards left space for him to lead into. Not sure why Brisbane didn't have someone in that space. Max Gawn even kind of cooked the kick a little bit because it came off the side of his boot. He was actually just trying to kick it sort of straight into that pocket. So Melksham had to divert his lead towards the boundary, still able to make it, and just an absolutely perfect snap from that position to make it a 12-point game with 4:44 on the clock. Next bounce has intense pressure, intense pressure and tension at it. Gawn almost gets a free for in the back, but they ball it up again. Brayshaw reads the ball better than anyone and snaps it inside 50. Melksham goes up and misses it. Smith can't get to it, and then it's rushed through for a very, 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 very handy behind. There's a moment where Jack Viney gives away a free kick for high on our 50-metre arc. The Brisbane player goes to switch it backwards, but Melksham runs back to Gunston, who is that loose man, and that forced Brisbane to go up along the boundary. And then we get that beautiful Trent Rivers effort where he somehow ends up with the ball and spinning out, moving it forward, which is just absolutely fantastic. We get this incredible Jack Viney goal where it's a ball up and he just rips it out of McInerney's hands. He just absolutely just pickpockets him, pulls it out, rips it and snaps it on his non-preferred foot for a goal. And I just lost my mind. Absolutely lost my mind. This is some of the best footy you'll see from Jack Viney. I can watch that goal over and over again. It's absolutely incredible. The timing, the tension, the execution, the lack of space he had to make those moves in. It was absolutely huge. And then, it goes in the middle. We've got, not too long to try and score, but the ball ends up with a boundary throw in with Gawn in the ruck. Brings it down to Brayshaw, who dump kicks inside 50 for Jake Melksham to go and take a 2-touch grab mark. And goals and puts us in front with 33 seconds to go. Absolutely huge. And speaking of huge, Jack Viney, huge in the next contest to help clear it out. Despite that, the Lions get one last-ditch effort to try and bring it up into their forward line. The ball comes to Hipwood and Lever, and the ball lands on Lever's chest, and the only thing Hipwood marked was Lever's head with his arm around it. The siren's gone. I can't tell exactly what the umpire paid, but he ran up with his arm stuck out towards a Melbourne kick. So regardless whether it was a mark or a free kick, I don't know why people were complaining, because either way it was Melbourne's ball. That's what the umpire called before calling time off and finishing the game. So in that last quarter, we kicked 4-5-29 to Brisbane's 1-1-7, won the quarter by 22 points and win the game by 1 solitary point. 1. Absolutely incredible. Can't believe it. This is one of the best wins. As a Dees fan, definitely the best most exciting win since 2021, I'd say. Probably the comeback game against Geelong. But this worm, it's just crazy. To go up to 25 points for the D's when we were up there, down to 28 points when the Lions were in front, back up to 1 point, is just nuts. Like, we had to come back and win that game a couple of times. We're leading here, probably thought that we're going to coast to a nice win, and then, it goes to shit down here, and then it's back and forth until we come back and win this game. Absolutely crazy. Let's get into the team stats. Pretty even game in terms of disposal efficiency and chances inside 50. We had a 51 inside 50, so they're 56. We had a little bit more of the ball, 30 extra disposals, but we handballed it a lot more than Brisbane did. Their kicking was pretty elite. Basically the same efficiency inside 50. We had more free kicks, but it did not feel like it. Beat them in hit-outs and clearances. We were a lot better around the stoppage, which was important. We had 8 more stoppages than them and 5 more centre clearances. So that difference is really that sort of first quarter burst, and then it was pretty even after that. Scored a lot from stoppage as well, which was very, very important. And yeah, Brisbane didn't turn it over as much, and that's to do with their elite ball skills. They marked it a lot more. This isn't usual. There's 17 marks inside 50. Usually Stephen May or Jake Lever are marking a bit more, but they were played very, very well by the Brisbane forwards to not have as much of an influence. But Max Gawn's influence was enough throughout the game. 14 tackles inside 50 was really important for us because it created contests, and I'm pretty sure we scored from 3 ball ups inside our forward 50 from memory. That's generally it. Let's get into the coaches' votes. So this is how the coaches saw it, which means that it would have been split up something like this. And then the way that I saw it, I gave 1 vote to Keziah Pickett, kicking 3 goals, had the 11 disposals, 5 tackles, 3 clearances. Just a much better game from Cozzy. Got into the right spots, kicked some vital goals when we needed it. Gave 2 votes to the match winner, Jake Melksham, who kicked 2 goals, 1. Of his 13 disposals, 10 big marks, 3 tackles. Had some really crucial disposals to help set up goals throughout the game as well. 6 score involvements for him for the game. Gave 3 votes to Trent Rivers. Really, really helped with his defensive work, that play down the wing, fastly becoming one of my favourite players. He had 5 inside 50s coming from the back line, 3 score involvements, 6 intercept possessions. 455 metres gained for the game, played 81% time on the ground. He's most improved player by far. Gave 4 votes to Jack Viney. We do not win without Jack Viney. He had 25 disposals, 8 tackles, 5 clearances, 280 metres gained, 7 score involvements, 5 intercept possessions. Just huge from Jack Viney. And then, kicking that goal to get us within 5 points was absolutely mental. Gave the 5 votes over to Christian Petrarca for his 4 goals too. Absolute huge game. That's 6 shots on goal for him. He's just killing it as a forward. 26 disposals as well. 3 marks, 4 tackles, 7 clearances. Did what he needed to when he got put in the middle. When he was needed around the ball, he was put around the ball. 9 score involvements for him. But he got outdone by our captain, Max Gawn, who played easily the best game for the year. He had 29 disposals, which was equal top with Angus Brayshaw, who I would have loved to have fit in the votes as well. 5 marks, 7 tackles, 39 hit-outs, 17 to advantage. He played 92% game time. He had 6 score involvements, 8 intercept possessions, 3 big contested marks, 4 intercept marks, 12 pressure acts as well. In terms of pressure acts, Jack Viney was the most on 23 and Cozzy was on 21. I do want to shout out to Judd McVeigh, Alex Neil-Bullen, Lockie Hunter, Jake Bowie, and Angus Brayshaw. Ed Langdon's running, especially in that last quarter, and Joel Smith's last quarter had some really important intercept marks. So shout out to all those players who had really, really good moments throughout that game. No VFL this round. We had a bye, so we just did a scratch match against St Kilda, where Brody Grundy played forward. He kicked 1 goal, had like 12 disposals or so, and that's sort of all the reports that I really got back for that. But yeah, really important to win this one against Brisbane. Like, it's very popular to say that games are 8-point games, but I feel like this one was a 12-point game, because if we didn't win it, we would have been sitting on 40 points, only 2 ahead of Geelong. But lucky for us, we got the win, got the 4 points, and we sit with a 6-point gap. We do not want to end up any lower than 4th at the end of this season. And the game between Brisbane and Geelong this weekend is super important. Not sure really who I want to win out of Brisbane and Geelong, but yeah, we really want to make sure that we have that top 4 spot there. But with the way that results went over the weekend, GWS winning, Essendon losing, Western Bulldogs losing, St Kilda losing, any of those 3 teams can drop out of the 8, with Carlton coming off those 4 50-point wins against soft teams that they've just done. Richmond, got Hawthorn this week. So, it's exciting that anything can happen in this bottom 4 for the year. A lot of the times in years, it's kind of already set in stone, and a lot of the games later are a waste. But the thing that I am actually most excited for is where Fremantle's sitting. Fremantle is sitting only 2 games ahead of Hawthorn at the moment. Hawthorn, they've got a few chances to maybe pick up some points. And I think Fremantle's only really got 1 easy game for the rest of the year against West Coast. And you never know with those sort of games anyway, with those derbies. Anything can happen. So West Coast might pull out their second win for the season against Fremantle this year. Wouldn't that be great? It's possible that we could end up with a 3rd pick. It's very possible. I don't think it's likely. I think we'll end up with the 4th or 5th. But yeah, it's diabolical for Fremantle to be where they are after the season they had last year. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on all the footy stuff for the D's this week. Thank you very much for listening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Yeah The Dees.
Petrarca! Oh wow! How good is that? Sparrow to make it a 3-goal, 3-quarter night lead. He's got it! Surely not another one. Handball to Oliver, streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang! Melbourne are the premiers for 2021!
And it's just so special for our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.